because that's what's really different to this than how you've lived your life until now, because being good at things, being a high achiever, all of those things, what comes with that often is letting go of your emotional side. So you become this person who's always happy. But the type of happiness that you'll experience through this course is different to that kind of putting on a front of being happy, everything's okay, I'm fine, you know, and we can convince ourselves of that. In fact, we can actually believe that, but then things are showing up like getting sick, or, you know, there's this underlying tension because there are some emotions that have been suppressed. So what's really different about this process is it's really important to be very vulnerable and to feel it, let the emotion come up. Even if you can't explain it, sometimes what you might find when you're doing this work is that you might cry or get angry or have an emotion that you want to justify. You want to try and come up with the reason behind it, but really it's just the emotion that is probably linked to something that happened a long time ago, and it doesn't actually matter what it went in with. It's time for it to be released. And that is what's going to do two things. The first thing it's going to do is unblock you to having this access to consciousness, which allows you to be able to think really freely, to be able to focus, to feel inspired. So rather than motivating, so what happens with motivation is we're pushing, and what happens with inspiration is we're being pulled. And the second one is just so much more enjoyable and so much easier because it just feels like fun rather than a chore. Whereas when we're pushing, it's this self-motivation all the time, making ourselves do something. So to get to that free space, what you're doing is one by one sort of pulling these blocks out that are keeping you stuck, which are giving you the unsettled feeling. But as you feel them and free them, and as they release, you will start to feel clearer and clearer over time. So worry is a good example because worry is not real. So when you're projecting into the future or projecting into the past, then you're actually not present. So worry is you imagining the worst case scenario, which may never happen, and you can't control it right now. And so that's a wasted emotion. Looking back on something that you regret is also a wasted emotion. So you can look at something that you did and see the lesson in it and say, from now on, I'm going to do it this way. But if you continue to feel guilt or worse, shame about that particular thing in the past, then that is a wasted emotion. But if you feel a wave of sadness coming up, for example, and you can't even really articulate what it is, it's probably been buried for a long time and it just needs to be expressed. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday I saw a post on Facebook. A friend of mine, her brother died after 8 years of struggling with brain cancer. And it mentioned a thank you to the Laurel Hospice. And my mum's name was Laurel. And I just burst into tears and cried for like 15 minutes, couldn't stop, like out loud crying. And, you know, in the 2 years since Mum passed, I think that I've been very brave, which is, you know, what we tend to do, you know, and carried on and soldiered on. And I think that it was put there in front of me to trigger, to release that emotion, because it's no good for me being held down. It needed to come up and out. And another way that you use expressing your emotion is to be honest. So one of the big things that you'll learn through this program is to be honest and to tell the truth about how you're feeling. Because in a relationship, in any relationship, the only way a relationship cannot be amazing when you're, you know, with your tribe, so like your partner and your family, is if you're not being completely honest. But we're trained from a very young age not to be honest, to save the other person's feelings. So we don't tell the whole truth. So the classic is husband says, what's wrong? Wife says, nothing. And husband says, I can see there's something wrong. And the wife goes, there's nothing wrong. So that goes on, around the world, I'm sure, in homes. And the reason we don't want to say anything is because we can't really articulate what we're feeling. So this is an opportunity to say, look, I know it's my stuff, and I know that I'm going into a bit of insecurity here. And, perhaps I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself, like just the absolute truth, like just say it as it is. That's where it's important to express your emotion, because otherwise you're just hiding it and you're never going to actually learn from it and become aware of the cause of it. So the regret stuff usually, correct me if I'm wrong, with the people pleaser is I am whatever. You start to label yourself because of what you did, what you said, what you didn't do, what you could have done better. I am stupid. I am not good enough. I am, seeing that you've made a mistake and acknowledging I made a mistake, it's a behavior that I can learn from and I can change. But if you equate a behavior to who you are, that's what you want to change, because you want to just come up with statements like I am enough no matter what my behavior, because I can change my behavior. But I am enough no matter whether I get it right or whether I get it wrong, because I won't get it right all the time.